just put it down.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you very much.
Hello, what's your name?
Thank you very much.
Hi!
I'm quite tempted to do that for a second.
Look at you hiding. Well done. Well done. Are you ready? So today I am interviewing Dr. Tara Swart. I love you. I mean, we're friends, right? So it's really nice to be sat here in front of you. And Tara is a psychiatrist and a neuroscientist and has worked all over the world with very important people and businesses. And but today I want to talk to you about something which I am so pleased you've brought to the fore. Your book, The Signs. I love this book so much because it gives us permission to see and feel what we really need to see and feel to carry on sometimes. And that'll become clear, I think, after we've spoken what I mean by that. But thank you. Obviously, you met your soulmate, Robin. And, well, let's just talk a little bit about meeting Robin. Can you talk me through where you were at in your life? Because you were a bit like, I'm never going to meet anyone. That's it. I'm done with love.
So I'd been married before and got divorced. And then I had dated on and off for a while, but very much protecting my heart, like not anybody that, I thought could break my heart. And then I dated someone for a while and I decided to stay completely single for 2 years because I just felt like I was wasting my energy that I could be putting into my business. So basically, I became like a total workaholic, flying all over the world, and
that is a danger, isn't it, for people who love their job? Deciding not to have a relationship is basically quite a dangerous thing in a funny sort of way.
Yeah, and I think looking back, that I was definitely running away from, love or potential heartbreak. So the second year, I put a tiny heart on my action board. I call vision boards action boards, but it was still a lot of business and travel, and it didn't make any difference. So I thought, if you really believe in this manifestation and it works for everything else, really try it for love. So I found this big pink engagement ring and I put it on the top left corner. And I don't normally put words on, but I found this phrase, joy comes out of the blue, put that on the top middle. And early February, I met Robin on a plane in the sky out of the blue.
Oh my God. Wait, and I just quickly want to talk to you about your vision boards and manifesting, because obviously you wrote a book before this. And just in a nutshell, can you just tell us about that? Because that will also help people if they want to do what you're just talking about.
Yeah. So manifestation is bringing into reality the things that you want. And I do that through what's called vision boards. But I also say you have to do the things that make it come into your life, not just create a fantasy and sit on the sofa waiting for it to come true. So even though I wasn't dating at the time, but I had a very big intention of a relationship that would actually lead to another marriage. And we actually got engaged that year as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So you met him on a plane?
I think I saw him in the lounge. At the
airport. I
airport.
see. Okay.
Then we were in seats 1A and 1K, so they're far apart from each other.
Yeah. You like that?
I looked at what he was reading out of interest.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was he reading?
The Romanovs.
Oh, okay.
He said that.
Were you impressed by that? Were you like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I like a reader.
Okay.
Yeah. And if we're going to go into it, he just had cheese and red wine for his dinner.
Is it quite difficult sometimes being a neuroscientist and looking at people and kind of understanding why they're doing something or the motives behind something, or also wondering, I wonder what it is that's making them do that? I mean, it must be exhausting.
No, because if something alerts my radar, then I'm right in on why is this person behaving like this? What's going on? But the rest of the time, you can't be like that. Or like you said, you would go and say,
go mad.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to just talk to you a little bit, and we'll go back to Robin a bit later. Obviously, you lost Robin, and when you lose somebody, so that's my sister obviously over there in the urn.
Yeah.
That's my dad on the top shelf, and that's my grandpa on the middle shelf. And when you've lost somebody, when I lost my dad, he had Alzheimer's and he was in a home. And the nurse came in who he knew quite well. And after he'd died, she opened the window to let him out.
Oh, wow.
And they do that with everybody that passes in the home. And I've never seen that before.
No.
But what was interesting, I'd been with my sister when she died, but with my dad, it was really apparent that he just left his body. He'd gone. And you talking about the soul and the body being separate things, where does your belief in that come from? Because to me, it made complete sense.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was brought up Hindu, so obviously reincarnation, ancestor worship, past lives were, what I was brought up to believe in. But Robin getting leukemia and then me knowing that the treatment wasn't going to work shattered everything that I believed in, including manifestation, love, abundance, reincarnation, soulmates. It was all like, I felt quite angry.
Yes, I bet.
But I was with him when he died, and I immediately knew that body lying there wasn't him. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know what it meant. I was just like this absolute sense of knowing, which really helped me during the cremation because I didn't identify with the body in the coffin being him.
That is quite interesting, actually, that idea of cremating just a vessel.
A vessel. That's exactly how it felt. Like the essence of him, the spirit of him, even though he was so poorly in the last few weeks, like he couldn't raise a glass of water to his lips. He, still tried to smile at me, and so he definitely wasn't his old self. In that he was a sort of shadow of his old self, but the spirit was very much there, and it was so odd. I can't really describe it, but that was the first thing that happened. Then, as in, you said in the book that I've written about dualism and materialism and all of this kind of stuff, because I had to know as a scientist. I couldn't just believe and, make myself believe something that would make me feel better. I had to be able to prove it, which, in some ways there are unprovable things, obviously, in the book. But as much of the stuff like near-death experiences and terminal lucidity and the nature of consciousness that I could try to prove, I had to.
I mean, I think this is the power of it, is that these are things that I think as lay people, we experience, but we think, don't be ridiculous. And it's, I got so excited way before I was even thinking that you might even deem to come on my podcast about this coming out because of my experiences of losing people that I love and how much these signs mean to me.
Yeah.
That I've always slightly poo-pooed them, like, don't be ridiculous. It's just because you need it, but to have somebody in science look into it and give it meaning.
Which is kind of ironic in a way that it had to be that, but obviously I feel super privileged that that's added to the, the impact that it's had for people. I think where I'm at now, it'll be 4 years at the end of this month, October we're in. He will actually have been dead for longer than we were married this year. So that's quite a...
How does that feel?
It feels, I feel very relieved that my story's out there and I can live fully authentically now. It feels like permission to move forward with my life.
Yeah.
But it's strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not longer than we were together, but it's longer than we were married. And it just seems like so odd because I felt like we were married for a long time, but this 4 years just seems so short. So, that perception of time passing is something that I've written about in the book as well. But where I'm at now is so unscientific. It's just an absolute knowing that love never dies. I know that like 100%.
Sorry, that's so comforting. And I mean, you say it out loud and that makes such absolute sense. Of course it doesn't. It's a feeling. And that person never dies because of that, you know. And I think sometimes I've enjoyed the pain of grief because it shows me and them, wherever they are, how much I loved them.
So I had a moment in the mirror where I realised that staying in a certain part of the grief, being unhappy, kind of, you know, feeling like your life is never going to go back to normal or how it was, is actually easier than being happy and re-engaging in life. And I had a moment where I thought, it's okay for me to be happy again. It's okay for me to say I'm happy. It's okay for me to have career ambition again.
How long in was that?
Oh, it was quite recent. So I would say like 3.5 years.
Yeah. It does take time.
Yeah. But that realisation that saying I'm happy and being okay was actually harder than staying in the grief for that long.
God, that's interesting too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've learned so much, and I always said I was never ever going to share my private story unless I learned something that I thought would help people. So I'm glad I got to that point as well, and obviously been just like blown away by the response to it all.
What made you start? Because you've really gone into quite a lot of work to find out the ways that we can get ourselves into a position where we are able to receive signs. And at what stage of your grief did you start looking into that, or think one day, or I'm going to start doing this work now as groundwork and I might publish it? Was it like that? Or no, how did it work?
There was about 2.5 years in, and I was in like daily communication with Robin. And then a big beauty brand in China wanted 60 copies of the source in simplified Chinese and couldn't get hold of it for some reason. So I texted my publisher and he said, you know, we'll sort that. And how about another book, Tara? And they hadn't asked me for 5 years. And I think I've been pretty vocal about saying I absolutely hate writing and don't think I'm good at it. So because I was in this daily communication with Robin, I thought that's the first time I thought I could write a book. So I said, actually, I have an idea. So he said, let's have a coffee. Next thing I know, I've got a contract being waved under my nose, and it was easier for me to stay at home and write for a year. So, yeah, I started. And it was hard. You know, people said it'll be cathartic. It wasn't cathartic. It was, I mean, last October, around the time of the anniversary, it was so sad. It just made me so sad. And, you know, I even felt sorry for the desk editor, knowing that they were reading this with the dates that were coming up and, you know, kind of understanding how difficult that must be for me. But now it's cathartic that it's out and, you know, it's helped so many people. So
that's interesting that writing it wasn't. What made it hard?
I had to relive a lot of memory.
Right.
I couldn't type up the emotional stuff. When I had to put personal story in, for some reason, I had to handwrite it. And then the way I worked with my desk editor was that we would have a Zoom call that would transcribe it so that we had what I'd said was written down already. So I said, the easiest thing will be for me to just read this out to you on Zoom. And I couldn't read it without crying. I struggled reading the preface of the audiobook, to be honest.
I would be exactly the same. It's a huge deal. And I think the person that I was probably I struggled with losing the most was my sister. We lived together up until the day she died.
Oh, God.
We had 6 years apart when she stupidly went to live in London. I was like, what are you doing? But then she came to live with me again. It was like, good. And I really just missed her. We were together all the time, a bit like you would a partner. Like she was really part of the fabric of my life.
Yeah, if you live together, then I think the gaping loss is so much more in your face.
And then you know about this, caring for somebody that's sick when they die, that also leaves a big hole of the caring. You know, the remembering the medicines, the names of the medicines, the going to the pharmacy, the talking to the pharmacist about how your loved one is, the taking all the meds back, the not having to go over and check on them 3 times a day. It was such an interesting loss, that of the medicine and the caring about someone that's left a huge hole. And so when I lost her, that was the hardest thing ever. And I pined for her, but then a big pain and real grief came again 7 years after she died.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was so weird. And I don't know if you're having this now. Sorry, I'm talking, I don't know if you're having this now, but around an anniversary, the light at the various times of day and the temperature of the air and the clothes that people wear all bring it back to me, because it reminds me it's this time of year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I hadn't thought about it like that, because for me, it's the autumn leaves, isn't it, and the robins. And now that I practice neuroaesthetics, which we'll also go into, which is the art of noticing beauty in nature, and I'm just so in love with the autumn leaves, so it's kind of become a positive.
Yes.
And I think because I was so isolated, because I was living in the middle of nowhere when Robin passed away, that people came to visit me every day, but I don't think I was really noticing what they were wearing or anything.
Yes.
I mean, I feel really strongly like Robin is doing all of this with me.
Yeah.
Everything that's in the book, you know, meet every podcast that I speak on. And, you know, when people say his name and talk about him like almost as if they know him a little bit, it just, to me, that keeps him alive.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? It's a legacy.
And I don't know if you've seen inside the cover. Have you taken the paper cover off?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Let's do a reveal.
Yes, okay. Oh, my God. How funny is that? I didn't. Oh, I love that. Oh,
It's so sweet. Like, my publishers, they promised me that they would put a little gold embossed robin on.
and tell me about the 3 circles and the triangle.
It's not a particular choice. It's to do with sacred geometry, which is like how nature works and the world works. And Robin was obsessed with the Fibonacci sequence, so it's a nod to that.
That's really lovely.
I know.
Oh, thanks for telling me about that. That's so nice. So when you were did you talk to other people, or had you talked to many other people about signs that they'd received? Or how did you know that it was a universal thing?
Yeah, I mean, I have a few friends who have lost people, but I don't know anyone that had lost their partner. So I'd heard it spoken of before. And I think I was like desperate to get one, right? And apart from seeing a lot of robins, I didn't. But then 6 weeks after he died, I actually saw him standing next to my bed.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so it was 4 a.m. when that happened. And I was sleeping on my left-hand side at the edge of our bed with my right shoulder exposed from the duvet. And I just got this massive thump to my shoulder. And I had been awake about an hour earlier because I heard a strange sound, which it's only just clicked for me now. That was probably him starting to come through. Because there's something else that happened with some electrical glitches, and then he came through recently, which I can also tell you about. So we'd been burgled when he first got diagnosed, the garages outside. So I got up to go and check if it was that, but the noise got quieter as I went away from my bedroom. So I came back and I thought maybe it was birds in the distance, but actually, again, thinking about it, I'd never heard birds in the distance like that there. It's a very silent place. I went back to sleep. I'm a good sleeper, so I was fast asleep, got this thump to my shoulder. As my eyes acclimatized to the darkness, I just saw him coming through, like becoming more and more solid. And I could see life-size, the outline of his face and hair, and then he just dissolved from the top down. And I just gasped and fell back asleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I Googled, is it possible to see a lost loved one? And then I think within a few days of that, one of my neighbours wanted to drive me to the Christmas market because it was sort of mid-December. And I didn't know her that well, and I didn't know if she was spiritual or religious, but I guess because I, wasn't really seeing that many people, I just blurted it out. And she turned to me with this beautiful smile on her face and said, "You are so lucky." And she shared about losing her dad the year before, and she's never, seen him or received anything. And again, I think I was still in a bit of shell shock. I didn't really realise how lucky I was. Of course, now I realise everyone that's lost somebody would love to see them again. You'd give everything for a second with them again. But the signs really started, I'm trying to think how, it just clicked for me one day that numbers would be the way. I think I'd just been seeing a lot of angel numbers, a lot of 1111. And I told him that he was my twin flame, and that's the number for twin flames. And I was going through a really difficult period. I had to leave that house where we'd got married and where I'd scattered his ashes and moved back to London. And I kept seeing 4-4 everywhere. And I looked up what it means. And it means your angels are protecting you and guiding you, and you're on the right path. And that meant a lot to me at the time. And then he always used to say to me about any sort of dilemma, you have to Rubik's Cube it. That's the way his brain worked.
Yes.
And I was watching just like some psychological thriller, and somebody mentioned the Rubik's Cube. And I just thought, it's really odd.
Mm.
And then I sort of just had this moment of insight where I thought he would communicate with me through numbers. And so once I opened myself up to that, I started asking for specific numbers at anniversaries and stuff. And
this is something I find fascinating, that you can ask. And I've never done that. This sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is. And the number of DMs I've had from people saying, I heard you say that on a podcast, so I asked, and it came almost immediately, is astounding.
But in your book, you say people do come and be present.
So where I've written about near-death experiences, I said that people who have them and people who sort of induce the closest thing through dark retreats, they don't fear death anymore. So they live life with much more gusto, they're more likely to take healthy risks. Don't worry about failing. And I think that's what happened to me. I think because I lost my husband, I remember even though I then lost my house and my car and quite a few other things, thinking nothing can be as bad as losing Robin. There's nothing that can scare me now because I've lost the single most important thing in my life. So if you actually think about it, which I stupidly didn't, I'll say, that book could have been career suicide for me. I could have become so discredited in the scientific community. I didn't, and actually at the Penguin sales team conference where I presented the book for the first time, so that was the first time I spoke publicly about losing Robin, someone did say, are you concerned about criticism? And I said less so than with the source for some reason. I think I was just not as evolved in my career and personality that 5 years ago. And then I said, well, of course, there will be some criticism, but I'm confident that I can, speak to it if that happens. But I mean, that was foolish, really. And I'd just like to say that amongst the people that have written to me, there are so many psychologists, psychiatrists, dentists, doctors who have written to me as well. And I just feel so sad that we're literally handcuffed and gagged and not allowed to speak about stuff like this. And what I really like about what you said about opening the window to let your dad out is that there's lots of research on. So we have what's called a biopsychosocial model of healthcare, which is you look after the body, you look after the mind, you look after the, who's around that person that's important. But we should have a biopsychosocial spiritual model. And there's papers dating back 10 years that say this, but I don't really see it happening in practice.
What is that? A biopsycho?
So as well as the body, mind and community, also taking into account the person's spiritual or religious beliefs.
Right.
Because especially for care of the elderly and at end of life, that could make a very big difference to, for example, Robin didn't practice as a Catholic, but he wanted last rites. And so, of course, I made sure that happened.
Do you think it is a natural thing, like Robin did, to go back to a religion that you have practiced maybe as a child or your family practiced when you're near death?
I think so, because I think the risk of not doing the thing that you've believed in or been brought up around, it would be quite hard. He didn't want a religious memorial or anything like that. But he did, it was interesting that he wanted last rites. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I think, talking to you and for anybody else that's been going through something similar, is that there are so many awkward moments and how to talk to somebody about the fact that they're gonna die and how hard that is sometimes, and how funny it is when somebody from the outside comes in with all their weird living energy. There's something that happens when you're just with somebody in that very enclosed environment.
We were in such a bubble. We'd really been in a bubble for over 1.5 years because I was shielding him during the pandemic.
Of course, yeah.
And then I've never shared these things before, but I had to give him his diagnosis. So we'd been seeing the lymphoma doctor, and the doctor emailed me and said, I need to speak to you this evening after clinic, but we need Robin's permission for me to speak to you and not him, which Robin obviously immediately gave. And the doctor said to me, don't come and see me on Monday. You need to go to the leukemia ward and he has to start treatment straight away. So I walked round and told him this. And his immediate reaction with no hesitation was, well, it's been the happiest 5.5 years of my life. And I said to him, I love you so much. I wish this was happening to me, not to you. And then then he started the treatment, and I had to take his temperature all the time. But I kept him so safe. We did not see anyone go anywhere apart from the hospital. So at first he was still able to get up and walk to the ensuite bathroom by himself. But then later it was just easier for a while. There was a sort of in-between period where it was just easier to help him, in the bed. And so he needed to use the bathroom. The nurse came to help him, and he didn't want her to help because I was there. So he said, I'd rather my wife does it. And which, was fine. But I did say to him, I'm not here 24/7 and you've got to let the nurses help you. And he looked at me and he said, why would anyone want to be a nurse? And I said, darling, they want to give to preserve your dignity, when you're feeling like this, and they're like angels and you've just got to let them help you. And so, the kind of conversations you have, the things you have to say, the things I had to do, no wife should have to do.
Yes.
And because I was a doctor, I could do a lot more than any loving wife would even be, capable of doing. So,
Tara, I feel really bad because I really feel like I'm traumatizing you here.
Yeah, no.
I don't know how we've ended up here, but I'm. If you're okay, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. I for me, the reason that I've been through everything that I've been through and carried on is because it's not about me.
Yes.
It's about helping people.
Yes.
And so as long as I feel like this conversation might help people who've been in a similar position, then I can have it.
I mean, I think in particular, just hearing people talk about their grief or grieving or when somebody's ill. I've talked about my sister. I talked about it to Stephen Bartlett on Diary of a CEO. Talked about her dying and the number of people that loved hearing that because they'd been through something similar. There is something rather lovely hearing someone else's very difficult moment.
Yeah.
And, we talked about, you mentioned joy in grief, after they've died. But in those last moments, days that we shared together were the saddest but most precious moments I ever had with her. It was magic. And I am so grateful to have had that time. That I think of all those people that lose someone in an accident.
Yeah.
Oh, the shock.
Yeah.
That I had a chance to properly.
Yeah, that's true.
How do you take your tea, Davina?
Milk, no sugar, and a scoop of A and B TC, please.
A and B what?
It's Ancient and Brave True Collagen, the sponsors of our show. Yeah. When you're born, your body's stores of collagen are full, but in your 20s, it starts getting less and less each year. So now is a great time to start supplementing because it affects so many areas of your body. Hair, skin, nails, connective tissues, and Ancient and Brave, whose collagen I have been taking for years, is literally top shelf. These formulas are rigorously tested. But you know what really sets Ancient and Brave apart? It isn't just their amazing product, but it is their commitment to sustainability. So 1% of their sales, which they've just brilliantly upped to 2%, goes to environmental causes. So if you want to give this a try, go to ancientandbrave.earth/planet and just use the code BEGIN again to get 20% off. Result.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. For anybody that has lost somebody, and you know, there's a blueprint in the signs of lots of different ways that we can prepare ourselves to be more open to signs. Could you talk me through some of those?
Yeah, I think first of all, having this conversation and having the psychological safety in your own community to have that conversation is important. Because obviously if I started talking about signs and everyone just thought I was losing my mind from grief, or my friends started to get worried about me because I was talking about signs, it would have pushed my, it would have changed my journey. So I already in the past few years have been having that conversation a lot with my friends. And they get signs from Robin as well, which is wonderful.
Oh, that's so
Even
nice.
people that didn't know him. Wow. And I don't see him in dreams that much. So, but 2 or 3 of my friends, they get dream messages from him.
I get so jealous of people that dream of loved ones.
I know, because it's like you're actually
You
seeing
see them.
Yeah.
I never get that.
I've had it a couple of times, and I can partly do lucid dreaming. So I managed to extend one of them a little bit, but then I think I must have fallen asleep or something. And I was like, oh, I wish I'd stayed in that dream for longer because it was so vivid.
What is lucid dreaming?
So lucid dreaming is when you're aware you're dreaming and you can actually control the events in the dream to some extent. Yeah.
I think I've had that like once or twice.
Mm.
Do you get that a lot?
No, not a lot, but I've
Okay.
had it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
If I ever became aware that I was in a dream with Robin, I would try to keep it going.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, obviously, is getting your community aware that you're not going
Yeah.
batshit crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And being able to have mutual conversations about it. And then for me, the first 2 things that started me, on this journey that I had no idea how I was going to navigate were nature and community. So, I mean, people came to visit me every single day. I got so many flowers that I ran out of vessels to put them in. And so one thing I learned is that if someone close to me loses someone, I'm going to buy them a vase, not flowers.
Yes. Oh my God, that's good.
It was a good learning. And I'm talking about 6 months solid of getting flowers all the time.
Wow.
Even now, and it's been nearly 4 years, I would say borderline overly protective friends, but I love them, obviously.
Oh, that's nice though, isn't it?
I think they just couldn't bear to see anything else happen, bad happen to me.
Yes.
Which I get.
Yes, and that's really lovely, isn't it? It's well, you were talking about community.
Yeah. Yeah, and I worry for people that don't have that level of support, because I mean, I just had such a fallback amount of people to fall back on that. Yeah. So when people sometimes write to me and say I don't have anyone, I just can't bear it. So I've written about how to try to bring some form of, support into your life if you don't have a lot of friends, by either volunteering or joining an interest group, like a walking one or an art one or something. So I was, living on a large property that I would just walk around for half an hour every day. And then because I didn't really have anything else to do, or couldn't really do anything else, I just started walking for longer and longer. And I felt the benefits on my mental health of doing that. And I also had a weird analogy, which was that I have a terrible sense of direction. And where I was living, I would have no signal. So if I got lost, I wouldn't be able to use Google Maps. And I could walk for hours without seeing anyone. But I started going down paths I'd never been before. And I just had this, a bit like that, the weird feeling of him not being him when he died. I just had this weird feeling that I would find my way. And on some kind of spiritual level, that I'd been in that place before, which I can't explain. But for me to, I mean, I can lose my way in London. I can be crying on a street corner in London. I've lived here my entire life. For me to say it's okay to just keep walking because eventually you'll find your way back felt like a analogy for grief.
Yes.
Even having to drive, because Robin always drove. And even when he was between treatments, I would drive to the country, but he would say, get into this lane, go down to 50, turn off here. So suddenly having to drive on my own, at first I was like, shaking and terrified and didn't even feel like, oh my God, I got home safely. That's great. I just looked at the seat next to me and just thought, like, why aren't you here? But then my driving improved, it had to. And so I use that as an analogy. I was like, I can't see my grief journey, but I can see that I've improved in driving this much in 6 months. So it must be the same.
I like this idea of nature being so healing. And often, these long walks are like, I just need to keep going, and how much they help.
Yeah. And I think, so my neighbour, she lost her brother and she said to me, just walk your way back to healing.
Wow.
She specifically said that. Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. But I think the thing for me was when you walk, and it goes across the seasons as well, you see this continuous cycle of how nature recycles everything.
Yes.
Yes. And even weirdly, in the bouquets of flowers I would get, the roses always die first. And so I became a bit obsessed at watching the life cycle of a rose, but understanding that the petals and, they go back into the earth and they form some of the soil that helps new ones to grow. But also, when nature is so beautiful, you feel awe and you feel connected to something greater. And I think that really helped me as well. And also, a lot of signs come from nature, because the classic ones like the white feather, the robins, you're more likely to see them if you're spending time in nature.
You talk about regulating your nervous system in the book, about that's another way to help yourself.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the other ways that you can kind of regulate your nervous system.
So I believe in creating what I call a patchwork quilt throughout the day. So there are lots of different touch points that do that for me. But also long term, I've obviously built up a lot of mental resilience and have learnt to stay in a regulated state most of the time. But I listen to classical music or chanting in the morning whilst I'm getting ready.
What kind of chanting? Can we Spotify that?
Yeah, like Buddhist chanting. I think find one that you like, because there are a few different ones, and so I listen to either Buddhist or Hindu chanting.
So chanting is good, right, for us? Why is it good?
I think it is, and humming as well. So because I listen to that,
I hum a lot.
Musical chanting in the morning, I'm then humming it for a lot of the day. So that kind of continues it. I think it's to do with the vibrations in your body. And I love going back to evolution. And if you think about our ancestors in Paleolithic times, they had no spare resources for anything that was just like fun or a luxury. Everything was to do with survival. So basically food, shelter, and reproduction. So why did they drum and chant and hum and dance and make cave paintings? It must be integral to human survival. So yeah, gratitude practice. I start my day with that, but if I'm ever feeling stressed, then I will do it immediately and it changes my mindset quite quickly.
A gratitude practice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what does that look like? You just would lie there and you'd think of things that you're grateful for.
So I start it in bed in the morning, but I start it very practically because I think I've got the ideal bed for a neuroscientist, which is like side sleeping pillow, silk pillowcase, like really good mattress and wool topper and like lovely sheets and stuff. So I just give gratitude for those immediately because I can latch onto something before I start thinking, oh my God, I've got Davina's podcast today. What should I wear? Because it's easy to go down that road first.
Yes. Okay, that's quite nice. So regulate your brain before you start worrying about the day.
Yeah, definitely. And my phone is like floors down from my bedroom, so I don't even see that
So
for
you
quite a while.
never have it in your bedroom?
Never.
Ever?
No. I have an alarm clock. If that's people's excuse, you can just get an alarm clock. So then during the day, if I start to think something's on my mind that I'm worried about, then I've got quicker and quicker at remembering to do a gratitude practice in the moment to kind of like make my mindset more positive.
I'd love to talk to you about neural pathways, like how I've been talking quite a lot recently about fear.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain social media platforms that there feels like a lot of fear mongering on there because it's more clickable. And we are living in a time of great, like, there's so much kind of strife in the world and extreme political views.
Yeah.
And just feels quite toxic, the world, and we don't get to see much beauty. And there's beautiful positivity happening everywhere, but we don't see it. What happens if we feel danger everywhere, see it everywhere? Can you unpick that?
Yeah, the greatest example I can give you related to that is that so it's about 9/11, that imagery of the Twin Towers falling, people who had no connection to New York, didn't lose anyone, no personal connection to it whatsoever, who repeatedly watched that imagery because it was on the news a lot, could get PTSD. So I'm also very, very careful about what I see on social media or television. So basically, that would make you hypervigilant. It would make you anxious. It would help your amygdala and hippocampus, so that's the emotional centers and the memory centers of the brain, to get together and forecast danger, which would, probably prevent you from doing some things that you actually, could enjoy. Yeah, I mean, I was just actually talking to my hairdresser about the world is in a really bad state at the moment. I mean, it was bad enough after COVID. It was bad enough during, bad enough before, but now it's really bad.
Messed up.
Yeah. So even for someone like me who curates everything that, gets to my brain really carefully, I can't not know these major things that are going on in the world.
But let's just talk about how you create this, because I've started trying to do this and I've deleted a social platform off my phone and I have deleted loads of accounts that I feel serve me anger, negativity, not things that I need to see, things that feel bad for me. And this is particularly since my operation, where my brain felt vulnerable to imagery, toxic imagery or messaging. And it's made me feel much better. Are there any other ways that people can specifically try and change a memory? Can you talk yourself into changing a neural pathway if you feel that there's a pattern of thinking that's negative for you?
I mean, I think if it's as bad as what you're describing, then probably therapy would be, would just make it easier than trying to do it yourself.
Talking therapy?
Yes, but I want to add a couple of things here. So, journaling does help to offload things from our minds as well. But I had 2 sets of therapy. Once Robin was ill, it was offered in the hospital, so I took it up straight away. It lasted for a year, but then by the 2nd anniversary, I was in such a bad way that my GP was begging me to take antidepressants. And I said, but I'm not depressed, I'm in grief. And she said, well, I think you're totally burnt out, you've got PTSD and you're in grief. And this would just help to take the edge off things. And we're very close. And she said, I just can't watch you suffering like this. But I knew for me, and I'm not saying this is for everyone, that if I couldn't get through this by relying on myself, I would never be able to trust myself again. And I'm back at that place now where I trust my instincts so deeply that my friends are actually commenting on it at the moment.
How does that feel?
It feels amazing. It's like, it just makes life so easy to be able to trust yourself that much. And, whether sometimes it's good things, sometimes it's bad things, but I'm okay with what I know to be, right for me or wrong for me. we've gone on such
and I'm really enjoying this, Tara. So,
Yeah.
I think for people watching that have gone on a dark path, and in light of what is happening in the world, like we said, some people really are frightened of life. You know, they watch the news too much, or they get onto social media and they're following all the news platforms and or they follow something and they're so angry about the way that people are behaving about this, or it's we don't have enough places where we see lambs and kittens
exactly.
and babies.
I followed this bunny spire account on a social platform, and it's just so cute.
Yeah,
like if you looked at my explore page,
me too. It's babies, like puppies,
bunnies,
yeah. But that's
mushrooms.
That's where I've got to now.
Yeah.
Where did you just say? Oh, mushrooms. Yeah, because you work with Dirty,
Yeah.
don't you? Yeah. God, love Simon.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. Same.
Like, what a guy.
Yeah.
But like, it is hilarious.
I mean, beautiful mushrooms.
Yes.
Fungi are amazingly beautiful.
I mean, there is science behind trying to help us get to a place where our brains, and I know you've talked before about the gut-brain axis, but that is really important. Like, our gut microbiome and taking care of that is phenomenally important for the state of our brain, right?
Yeah, and in the source I'd written about gut-brain axis, but here I've written about the gut microbiome and brain triangle.
Right.
And just gone into like another level of depth in terms of how looking after that helps with us accessing our intuition as well. But just to segue back from what we were talking about, I came to learn, thankfully, I wish I'd come to it a bit earlier, but about trauma release from the body. So most people have heard of the book The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and that talks about trauma being trapped in the body to a point where you can't articulate it through speech.
Right.
So the answer to that is also very much spoken about in the book, which is that I actually went and had body realignment therapy and craniosacral therapy, but people can dance around the living room, sort of do some drumming, walk in nature, do yoga, do art, all just things that kind of use your body, not just your mind, and particularly articulated speech.
I really liked, you just mentioned art, music, dancing, and in the book you talk about creativity and how important that is for de-stressing. But what I loved, because as I told you earlier, I'm a sort of black and white person. I'm there's a right and a wrong answer. Maths, like, it'll make everything make sense. But when you said it doesn't matter if you can draw, it's the just drawing. Don't get hung up.
Yeah.
What is the science behind that?
So that's my new favourite area of study, which also connects back to what you were saying about how people access signs and how you can try to reverse this danger, alert that we're all on, which is the field of study called Neuroaesthetics, which is about the arts and beauty and culture and the effect of those things on our mental health, our physical health, and our longevity. And that splits the arts into making and beholding. So you can either do a drawing or you can go to an art gallery. So you can either sing in your shower or listen to music, and you can dance around your living room or go to the ballet, kind of thing. And there are different benefits from making and beholding.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe they'd be the same, but they're not.
No. And, I would admit that I do a lot more beholding than making, although I consider my, chopping the food and cooking is like art therapy for me.
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely. Because that is creating something beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, and I kind of, occasionally I'll listen to a podcast whilst I'm doing it, but mostly I actually do it as therapy. When I was writing, it was my first break from stopping writing and moving into evening mode. And when, we were in the pandemic, it was the signal to my brain that you finished work now and now it's time to be a wife and, kind of make everything homely and stuff like that. And so there's a really, I find, astounding statistic, which is that people who indulge in the arts every 2 months have a 31% lower chance of dying. And people who indulge only twice a year have a 14% lower chance of dying.
Really?
I actually, in my research, looked at, is art what makes us human? And there's quite a strong argument from archaeologists and anthropologists and stuff that it is. And so some other statistics that I really liked were that we know about cave paintings from 40,000 years ago, but 10 and 20,000 years before that, we were, in southern Africa, people were making carvings into ostrich eggshells, and we were making necklaces out of shells. And 50,000 years before that, we were finding ochre and crumbling it and putting it on our faces and bodies. And we think there was a reproductive advantage to that because you would look more attractive and creative. But 500,000 years ago, we were making tools that were more beautiful and symmetrical than they had to be to do the job that was required.
Yes.
So
It's
art is,
fascinating.
like perhaps second only to nature, but nature is also an art form. Art is very integral to the human experience, let's put it that way.
It just made me think about something about Michael.
Mm.
So Michael builds things. He makes things. So he builds coffee tables or
Oh.
kitchens, or he built an outdoor shower the other day, or he'll build a sink. He'll make taps.
Wow.
But sometimes he'll do something like he built a bench, and he was a bit like, I don't know why I'm building this bench, but I'm building it. And then a month later, we will sit on the bench in the morning with a cup of tea and have a very big, deep and meaningful about something. And he'll go, that's why I built the bench.
Oh.
You know, that there is a thing about, sometimes you don't know why you're making something beautiful or creating something or painting something. It suddenly makes sense months later.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about creating. So the other ways that we can open ourselves, we've talked about creativity, we've talked about nature.
Community. And then I think it is very directly asking for unmistakable signs. And it's not going to happen on the same day for everyone right away. And later you can become more specific about it. Like I asked for a sign of 3 first American symbols by 7 p.m. the next day. And
That's so demanding.
I know.
They're probably going, God, this is classic Tara,
How are we going to get this one?
pushing me.
Yeah, so funny. But at first, I think for people, either notice if there's something that keeps coming to you. Do robins keep flying close to you? Do you find white feathers lying around? Are there numbers that you repeatedly see? That's one way of starting the journey. A more direct way, particularly if you've lost a loved one, is to think about that person, think of a memory that, you really cherish with them, or an in-joke that only you two would get, and then choose a symbol that would represent that to you and ask for them to send it. And then, wait and see what happens. I mean, I've got so many now. I should have written them all down, but, I haven't.
Can you tell me your most outrageous sign?
Yeah, I think... they get more and more outrageous, but I'm going to start with one. So it was Valentine's Day, and one of my girlfriends had taken me out for lunch and a walk, and then I was actually doing a sort of like workshop with Simon. And it got to about 6, and he put me in an Uber. And I was fine. I had a lovely day, but I suddenly felt a bit sad that I was going home alone to an empty house.
Yes.
And so I thought, darling, you've got to send me a sign for Valentine's Day. And then I heard a car, and it's a very specific car that Robin had. I could hear it coming from behind, and it drove straight past. And I thought, oh, it's red, and you didn't like red sports cars, but I suppose it's like right for Valentine's Day. And then I got this absolute urge, and this happens to me when I know a sign's coming. I get this like kind of like I have to see something. And I thought, I have to see the registration of that car. And I immediately thought that RB is going to be in it because he was Robin Beebe.
Yes.
But I was stuck in traffic. That lane was free flowing. The chances of us catching up were really low, but somehow we did. And I took a photo of the registration plate, and it said C21RBN. So I sent it to my assistant, who's like my work wife. And no, before I sent it to her, I was thinking, what's C21? Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. But RBN.
That was a sign as well.
Yeah, because I then cropped the photo to send it to her. I even Googled C21 to see if it meant anything of relevance, and it didn't. And she said RBN is phonetically Robin, so that's way more than just RB. And she's
RBN, of course.
It's basically Robin without the vowels.
Oh my God, that's mad.
And she said his birthday was the 21st of September and he was born in Canada.
That is mad.
Yeah. And then another series of things happened around my birthday. So you can see...
Which birthday? Like when?
My birthday this year.
So this year?
Yeah.
So this is all... So do you feel like you are more open now to signs than you were closer to when he died? Because I wonder whether you're so raw and so in it that you're, we're talking about getting your mind to a space where you're open and inviting them in. I think when you're right in the thick of immediate grief, you're almost grieving too much to let the signs in a funny kind of way.
Yes, but also I believe that this whole process has been like learning a language.
Right.
So I have now become fluent.
Learn.
Yeah, I've become fluent in this language. And it's only just occurred to me that sign came on Valentine's Day, and the next thing I'm going to tell you came on my birthday. I mean, he is sending these things on the days that he knows I need them.
Okay, so tell me what happened on your birthday.
So I flew back from like my third trip to LA in 2 months. I was absolutely exhausted and jet lagged, but I had already arranged to have a pre-birthday dinner with my friend. So it was the day before my birthday. And she had chosen this new place that we'd never gone to. And when we got there, it was a bit strange because it was a set menu and it was prepaid. So she said, Tara doesn't eat meat. So can we go to the regular restaurant downstairs? And they said, you can, but we're not going to refund you. So I said, it's fine. I'll just eat around, eat everything else.
Yeah.
And they said, we can do some substitutions if you don't eat meat. So we were like, fine. And we started it. It was like several small courses and it was delicious. So she actually called the waiter back over and said, thank you for not letting us leave because this is amazing.
Oh, nice.
And then I looked down at the glass. I looked down at her glass. And in the bottom of the glass was engraved RB. So we took a photo. Both the glasses had RB engraved at the bottom. That's not a brand of glassware I've ever heard of.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Did you ask the waiter about that?
No. No, we just...
My God, that is so mad.
Yeah. And she's one of the few that have never met him. But she said to me, I feel like he does send you messages through me. And I said, I've noticed it before as well. So then I said, I'm going to do a dinner on Robin's birthday. Just like, to be honest, I wasn't going to invite her because she hadn't met him. I was going to invite some of his friends and my friends who knew him. But she kind of insisted, but in a cute way.
Yeah.
And she said, let me put it in my diary. So 21st of September, she goes to put it in her phone calendar and she just has this shocked look on her face. And I'm like, what? And she said, I used to have this habit of writing in people's birthdays and then putting the age that they're going to be this year. But I obviously haven't updated it for years because it's my aunt's birthday too. And the age that's in there is 44. And she knows that's my angel number with Robin.
It's just too much, isn't it?
The next morning, I get a screenshot from her saying, I'm shaken up. She received an email whose title... So she paid for dinner. We normally always split it.
Yes.
Because she'd prepaid, I said, can I pay you back half? And she went, no. And she'd also bought me a gift.
Oh.
And
she sounds great, by
She is great. She is great. She's great. All my friends are amazing.
Yeah.
So she said, I'm shaken up. I look at the screenshot. The title of the email is A Thank You from Robin. And it was a receipt for a charitable donation she'd made 2 weeks earlier. And I said, the fact that you took me out for dinner, you paid for dinner, you gave me a gift, that's exactly what Robin would have wanted and done. So he's literally thanking you. And then the last one is going to blow your mind. A few days later, she matches on a dating app with somebody called Robin Bieber.
No.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
No. No.
And there's more.
Oh God, no, I don't know if I can take any more, Tara. This is like a lot. Are you kidding me?
No.
I mean, that's not even that common a name.
No. It's not common at all.
Okay, carry on. Go, more.
So then, of course, it crossed my mind, I want to look at this person on Instagram. And then I thought, don't, it's weird.
Yeah.
Just don't.
No.
And I think I was actually coming here. So I was just trying to set that up. It would make my excuses. I was coming here, so that's a long journey across London.
Oh, it's a long journey, Tara.
Yeah.
It's very long.
So obviously, at some point during that journey, I was like, I can't resist going to look. So I went to look. I feel so sorry for this guy because everyone's going to go and look. Maybe he'll get some new followers. I looked at the account. I picked a random picture. So not anything from the top row.
No.
Just a random one where he had these like eye gel pads you can put.
Oh, yes.
And so it's just a funny picture.
Yeah.
And the caption was EYE, I love you. And the date was Valentine's Day. So to me, why did I pick that picture and get that message? It's from my Robin.
Oh my God. I mean, sometimes, like these things happen and you think, oh, these are signs, definitely. But also sometimes I think, because you talk about intuition, and I sometimes believe that there are things that, like my intuition is something that's protecting me as well. Like I might see something that has come to me or that I see that other people might not see, but that just helps me.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it feels like a dance between our intuition being open and whatever that source is, God, the universe, lost loved one, kind of dancing or interweaving.
When I had my operation, the thing that came out of that operation, the word I couldn't stop thinking about, and I met somebody else that had had brain surgery and they had exactly the same word, was synchronicity.
Ooh.
Like just this kind of weaving of life and how things happen, and things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And how weird that happened then, and sliding doors moments. And intuition, I think, is being open to hearing, reading, acknowledging, seeing things. And sometimes I feel like those kind of things can save your life. Sometimes they can just keep you safe. Sometimes they can heal your heart. But intuition is so healing in so many ways when it's working for you.
I was getting a really strong feeling of they can change the course of your life.
Yes. I mean, I've got friends of mine that have moved country on an intuition.
Oh, I have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've moved country, or you've had friends that have.
No, I did that when I was married to my first husband. We moved to Australia, but the place that we chose, I said to him, "That's our destiny," and he didn't even question all the other places we could have gone. So I've also always had that strong backing from someone important to me that my intuition is worth listening to. But it's next level now. I mean, it's.
Have you heard of Ram Dass? Okay, so Ram Dass, what would you call him? Like a spiritual, leader? Was he? He was sort of like a guru,
Like a yogi.
A yogi.
Yeah.
He was American. He's dead now. I'm just going to explain to people, but he's done lots of beautiful talks, which have been put to music by various people. There, you can find them on Spotify and things like that. John Hopkins did that amazing version of Sit Around the Fire. Sit Around the Fire is an amazing meditation, lovely to listen to. But in it, he says, you can let go of everything that you don't need. And he says things like you can let go of greed because you already have it all. I love that. You can let go of loneliness, or you could never be alone. And you can let go of doubt because you already know. And I love that, because intuition is you talking to you. You get the signs, you hear the people, but there are things that happen to you where you go, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's in all of us. That's gifted to all of us.
But I think because of the reasons you were saying earlier about the state of the world, people have lost trust in themselves.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So how do we find faith in ourselves? I know we've got to wrap up quite soon, but how do we trust ourselves again?
So when I started writing the book, I didn't want it only to be about grief. So I was thinking about loss in several ways, and that is loss of sense of self, like loss of trust of your intuition,
Yes.
loss of purpose. And then during the pandemic, there were a lot of breakdowns of relationships, marital,
Yes.
friendships, working relationships as well. And then I think it's about loss of connection to something greater. So whether that's the planet, nature, environment, or something even greater, I think that could be different things for different people. So everything in the book is about reconnecting to those things. It's how to find your purpose, how to rebuild or like take your intuition to the next level, how to really like tap into your senses, how relationships work from a genetics and neurochemistry point of view, so that you can hopefully that can help you to navigate, relationships and community in a better way. And then at the simplest level, a connection to nature starts that journey of understanding that there's something greater than you, but also that you have something to contribute to the collective.
And that is your power, right? You always have something to contribute. And it doesn't matter who you are,
No.
or where you are, or where you've come from. You have something to contribute.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice to think about,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Tara,
Yeah.
I'm going to end it there. I'm
Yeah,
just
it's
going to say
beautiful.
thank you. Wow, man, that's been like such a beautiful shared experience. So thank you so much.
And I just want to say to you, because obviously I do a lot of podcasts, this was such a different conversation to one that I've had with anyone.
Good.
And I think
Yeah,
it's
good.
very much down to you. So
Oh,
thank
good.
you.
I'm really pleased.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I love you.
I love you.
I love what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aw.
Let's please give Tara a round of applause. Can I give you a cuddle?
Yes.